Alex, I was looking at my scrap bin this morning, which for the record is now large enough to have its own zip code, and I realized something. We spend half our lives trying to make things permanent, and the other half trying to figure out why they fell apart.
Well, considering I saw you trying to permanently fix your lawnmower with a zip tie and a prayer last Tuesday, I'd say the struggle is very real.
Hey, that zip tie is a structural component now, it's load bearing. But seriously, it's Wednesday, July 29th, and we are diving into the guts of the maker world today. We're talking about plastic that acts like steel, how to stop being the guy who just burns rod and start being the guy who signs the checks, and building an entire cabin because apparently we don't have enough projects already.
Naturally. Why build a birdhouse when you can build a mortgage-free residence, right? Let's start with the tech. You've been grumbling about 3D printing for years, calling it glorified hot glue, but I see a box on your bench that says Polymaker.
I'm eating my words, Alex. It tastes like burnt cornstarch. Polymaker just put out this HTPLA Pro. Now, normally, if you leave a PLA print in a hot truck in July, you come back to find a sad, melted puddle that looks like a Dolly painting. But this stuff, it's got the backbone of a mule. It handles heat and stress like it actually wants to be a tool, not a trinket.
So you're saying I don't need a degree in chemical engineering and an industrial kiln to make a jig that doesn't snap the first time I put a clamp on it?
Exactly. It prints easy, but holds up hard. And speaking of printing, some absolute madman spent 9 months shrinking down Prusa's blueprints to make the Core 1 Mini. It's like someone took a heavy-duty industrial lathe and turned it into something that fits on a nightstand.
9 months? That's not a hobby, that's a gestational period. But I guess if you want quality, you can't rush the engineering. Does it solve the wet noodle problem? Because every time I try to print, it feels like the humidity in the air is actively conspiring against me.
That's where the Elegoo H1 HT box comes in. It's $70, and it gets hot enough to actually bake the moisture out of the filament. It's the difference between your print looking like a professional part and looking like it was chewed on by a caffeinated squirrel.
Every squirrel in your backyard is caffeinated, Tiger. But okay, let's pivot. From the high-tech plastic world to the high-heat metal world, you wanted to talk about the AWS Welding Journal.
This is the real gold, Alex. Look, I love being under the hood. I love the smell of ozone and the way a perfect bead looks like a row of frozen nickels. But my knees are telling me they've had enough of crawling into tight chassis at 6 in the morning.
I've heard your knees. They sound like a bowl of Rice Krispies when you stand up. So, what's the move?
The move is the CWI, Certified Welding Inspector. The August issue was harping on this. If you get that credential, or the educator one, you aren't the guy doing the heavy lifting anymore. You're the guy with the flashlight and the clipboard telling everyone else if they did it right.
That sounds like you're just becoming the person people are annoyed by in the shop.
Maybe, but you're the person the company can't afford to lose. It's a massive pay jump, and it's the difference between an hourly job and a career that lasts until you're 90. And the best part? They're finally doing hybrid training. You don't have to quit your job to go to school. You can learn the theory while you're still earning your keep.
So it's basically leveling up for grown-ups who wear leather aprons. But let's be honest, not everyone wants to be an inspector. Some people just want to make their own stuff and make it pay. You're always talking about being a maker mogul.
Because your hands are a finite resource, Alex. You can only sand so many boards in a day before your fingers turn into nubs. The smart play, the mogul play, is realizing that the way you built something is worth as much as the thing you built.
You mean selling the instructions?
Plans, digital guides, even affiliate links for the grid of sandpaper you use. Side Hustle Nation was talking about these micro labor apps too. If you have a slow week in the shop, there are ways to keep the lights on without having to beg for a commission on Facebook Marketplace.
I feel like there's a balance there, though. Does it get exhausting trying to monetize every single second of your day?
It can, if you let it. But the goal isn't to work more, it's to build a system where the shop pays for itself while you're taking a nap. If I spend 3 hours drawing a clear set of plans for that Adirondack chair I built, and then 300 people buy it for $5, well, you do the math. That's a lot of lumber I didn't have to pay for out of pocket.
Fair enough. Let's get to the dreamer section. We've got cabins, we've got kitchens, and we've got Craig jigs. Where do we start?
Let's start small. New World Carpentry is doing a challenge with the Craig Edge system. If you've ever been scared of making a long straight cut in an expensive sheet of plywood, that paralyzing fear that you're about to turn a $100 bill into sawdust, this is for you. It's joinery for the rest of us.
I like things that stop me from ruining expensive wood. But then you go from beginner jigs to full DIY cabin. That jump feels like going from a tricycle to a space shuttle.
It's not as crazy as it looks. Full DIY released this guide, and what's brilliant about it is they break it down into chunks. You don't build a cabin, you build a foundation, then you build a floor, then you build one wall. If you look at the whole mountain, you'll never start climbing. But if you just look at your boots, you'll get there.
And for the people who aren't ready to disappear into the woods,
Outdoor kitchens. The Maker channel is showing off scratch coat techniques. It's basically the Hollywood makeup of the construction world. You build a simple frame out of cheap materials, and then you apply this coat that lets you stick stones or fake masonry to it.
so I can have a Tuscan pizza oven in my backyard even if I live in a suburb in Ohio?
Exactly. You get the $5,000 look for about $300 and a very sore back. It's all about the illusion, Alex.
Well, my back is already sore just listening to you talk about it. So, what's the big takeaway for today? Between the high-tech plastic and the stone-faced kitchens, what are we supposed to actually do tomorrow morning?
I think it's this. Stop waiting for the perfect time to learn the hard stuff. Whether it's getting that welding certification or finally trying a 3D print that isn't a boat, the wall in front of you is usually much shorter than it looks. Just pick a tool and make a mark.
And maybe keep a few extra zip ties nearby, just in case.
Always. A handful of those and a roll of high-quality tape can fix about 80% of the world's problems.
Thanks for the wisdom, Tiger. See you all in the den next time.
Keep the sparks flying.